Whenever people talk about hair loss solutions, one treatment always pops up: hair transplants. They're popular, they're advertised everywhere, and yes, celebrities and influencers swear by them. But here's the truth: transplants aren't a magic fix. They can work, but they're not for everyone, and they come with limits you need to know before spending thousands. In this video, let's break down how transplants actually work, the pros, the downsides, and why you still need a long-term plan after surgery. Hair transplants don't create new hair. They simply move hair from the back and sides of your head, areas that are usually resistant to DHT, and implant it where you're thinning. The two main techniques are FUT, follicular unit transplantation. This involves cutting a strip of scalp, extracting hairs, and stitching it back. It leaves a linear scar. FUE, follicular unit extraction. This uses tiny punches to remove individual follicles one by one. Less scarring, more natural look, but it's slower and often more expensive. Both methods can give permanent results in transplanted areas because those hairs keep their DHT resistance. But here's the catch. Transplants only move the hair you already have. They don't stop your ongoing genetic hair loss. So if you're still losing hair, especially at a young age, you might end up with islands of transplanted hair while everything else thins out. That's why most surgeons recommend stabilizing your loss first with medications like Finasteride or Minoxidil before even considering surgery. Another limitation: donor supply. You can only move as much hair as you have in the donor zone. If you're already very bald, you won't magically get a full head of hair. After surgery, you'll deal with redness, swelling, and scabs for a few weeks. The transplanted hairs usually fall out within the first month. That's normal. Real regrowth only starts around 3 to 4 months, with full results taking 9 to 12 months. So it's not instant. It's a long healing and waiting game. And just like with medications, consistency and patience are key. Hair transplants aren't cheap. Depending on where you go, the technique, and how many grafts you need, prices range from $4,000 to $15,000 in the US, sometimes more. Yes, clinics abroad can be cheaper, like Turkey, where prices can drop from $2,000 to $4,000, but quality varies. Either way, it's a serious investment, and sometimes patients need multiple procedures over a lifetime. This is the part most people overlook. Even after a transplant, you usually still need to use Finasteride, Minoxidil, or other treatments. Why? Because the hairs that weren't transplanted are still sensitive to DHT. Without ongoing treatment, they'll keep thinning, and eventually even a good transplant can start looking patchy. So really, transplants are part of a long-term plan, not a replacement for it. One of the biggest frustrations with transplants is the waiting game. You spend thousands, but for months, it looks like nothing is happening. Or worse, your hair looks thinner during the shedding phase. This is where tracking matters. Dermatologists use before and after imaging to measure density. Now, technology can help too. For example, Myhair.AI lets you track your scalp photos, measure hair density, and see whether things are filling in as expected. That way you know if your transplant is progressing or if you need extra treatments to support it, because when you're investing this much time and money, you don't want to rely on guesswork. So, are hair transplants worth it? For the right candidate with enough donor hair, stabilized loss, and realistic expectations, they can be life-changing. But they're not instant, not cheap, and definitely not a cure. You still need patience, ongoing care, and often medication to protect your results. Hair transplants aren't a quick fix, but with the right plan, the right surgeon, and ongoing treatment, they can make a big difference. The key is understanding what they can and can't do, and tracking your progress so you know your investment is paying off. Thanks for watching, and remember, real results take time, patience, and consistency.